Ryan Cole was not a hero. He was just a cargo pilot who moved supplies between space stations in the outer sectors of the galaxy. His ship was old and slow, but it worked well enough to pay the bills. He had been flying alone for 6 years now, and he liked it that way. No crew meant no complaints, and no complaints meant peace and quiet. The Velar Nebula was a dangerous place. Pirates liked to hide in the thick purple clouds of gas and dust. Most pilots avoided it completely. But Ryan had flown through it dozens of times. He knew the safe paths, and he knew how to stay invisible. His ship was small and did not look valuable. That was usually enough to keep trouble away. On this particular day, Ryan was hauling medical supplies to a mining colony. It was boring work, but it paid well. He was drinking his third cup of coffee when his scanner started beeping. At first, he thought it was broken. The signal was weak and strange. Then he realized it was a distress call. He almost ignored it. Distress calls in the Velar Nebula were often traps. Pirates would fake emergencies to lure ships in, then attack them. Ryan had seen it happen to other pilots. He had no desire to become another victim, but something made him look closer at the signal. The codes were Aethori. The Aethori were one of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. They had ruled their part of space for thousands of years before humans even learned to make fire. Their ships were fast and beautiful and expensive. Why would an Aethori ship be out here? Calling for help, Ryan knew he should keep flying. This was not his problem. But his hands moved to the controls anyway, and he changed course toward the signal. He told himself he was just going to look. If it was a trap, he would run. His ship was slow, but it was tough. He could take a few hits and escape. What he found was not a trap. It was a disaster. The Aethori ship was broken and burning. Pieces of metal floated in space around it. 2 smaller ships circled it, like hungry wolves. Ryan recognized them immediately. They were mercenary interceptors, fast and deadly. They were firing at the damaged ship, trying to break through its weakening shields. Ryan should have left. He knew that. His cargo hauler had only 2 small defense turrets. They were meant to scare off minor threats, not fight real combat ships. Going against 2 interceptors was suicide. But then he saw through the Aethori ship's cracked windows. There was someone inside, moving. Someone was still alive. Ryan made his decision in less than a second. He pushed his engines to full power and flew straight at the mercenaries. They did not notice him at first. His ship was small and looked harmless. By the time they realized he was a threat, he had already fired. His first shot hit the lead interceptor's engine. The ship spun out of control and crashed into an asteroid. The second mercenary turned to face him, but Ryan was already moving. He flew his ship in wild, unpredictable patterns. The mercenary fired again and again, but the shots kept missing. Humans were known for being chaotic and hard to predict. Ryan used that reputation to his advantage. He led the mercenary into a dense part of the nebula, where visibility was poor. Then he cut his engines and went dark. The mercenary flew past him, searching. Ryan came up behind it and fired everything he had. The interceptor exploded in a ball of orange flame. Ryan did not celebrate. He flew back to the Aethori ship as fast as he could. The shields were completely gone now, and the hull was breaking apart. He docked his ship with the wreckage and ran inside. The air was thin and filled with smoke. Ryan pulled his emergency mask over his face and kept moving. He found bodies in the first corridor. Aethori crew members who had not survived the attack. He checked each one, hoping to find someone alive. He found her in the command room. She was young, with silver skin and large dark eyes. Her clothes were torn and burned, and there was blood on her face. But she was breathing. Ryan picked her up carefully and carried her back to his ship. The medical kit on his cargo hauler was basic. It was meant for human injuries, not Aethori ones. But Ryan did what he could. He cleaned her wounds and stopped the bleeding. He gave her oxygen and kept her warm. The Aetheri were fragile compared to humans. Their bodies were elegant, but delicate. He was afraid she would die before he could get help. He flew for 3 hours straight without rest. His hands shook from exhaustion, but he did not stop. Finally, he reached an Aetheri outpost and called for emergency assistance. Medical ships came out to meet him. They took the young woman away, on a stretcher. A tall Aetheri officer approached Ryan before he could leave. The officer's face was pale with shock. "Do you know who you saved?" the officer asked. Ryan shook his head. He had not thought about it. She was just someone who needed help. "That is Princess Velthari Serenis," the officer said. "The only daughter of our emperor." Ryan stared at him. He opened his mouth to say something, but no words came out. "You have done something extraordinary today, human," the officer continued. "The emperor will want to meet you." Ryan finally found his voice. "I was just passing by," he said. "Anyone would have done the same." The officer smiled, but there was something strange in his expression. Something that made Ryan feel uneasy. "Perhaps," the officer said. "But not anyone did. You did. And among our people, that means something very serious." Ryan did not understand what the officer meant, but he would learn soon enough. He had no idea that saving one life had just changed his own forever. 2 weeks passed after the rescue. Ryan tried to return to his normal life. He delivered his medical supplies to the mining colony and picked up new cargo. He flew his usual routes and drank his usual coffee. He wanted to forget about the whole thing, but the galaxy would not let him forget. News of the rescue spread quickly. Everyone was talking about the human cargo pilot who had saved the Aetheri princess. Ryan started receiving messages from news agencies who wanted interviews. Companies offered him money to promote their products. Strangers sent him letters of thanks and admiration. Ryan ignored all of it. He was not comfortable with attention. He just wanted to be left alone. Then the official summons came. It arrived on his ship's communication system, marked with the seal of the Aetheri Emperor himself. Ryan was ordered to appear at the Imperial Throne World within 10 standard days. The message was polite but firm. This was not a request. It was a command. Ryan considered running. He could disappear into the outer sectors where no one would find him. But he knew that was foolish. The Aetheri had ships that could catch him easily, and making the Emperor angry was not a smart move for any human. So he went. The throne world was called Aetheria Prime. It was the most beautiful planet Ryan had ever seen. The cities were made of white stone and silver metal. Gardens floated in the air, held up by ancient technology that humans still did not understand. Everything was clean and perfect and very, very old. Ryan felt small and dirty as he walked through the Imperial Palace. His boots left marks on floors that had been polished for 1,000 years. Servants in fine clothes looked at him with curiosity and something close to disgust. He was just a human. After all, a young species from a small planet. What was he doing here? The throne room was enormous. Columns of crystal rose toward a ceiling so high that Ryan could barely see it. At the far end of the room sat Emperor Kael Serenis on a throne made of living light. The emperor was ancient. His silver skin had faded to gray, and his dark eyes held the weight of centuries. He had ruled the Aetheri dominion for longer than human civilization had existed. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched stars die. And now he was looking at Ryan. "Come forward, human," the emperor said. His voice was soft but filled the entire room. Ryan walked toward the throne. His legs felt weak. He had never been afraid of much in his life. But this was different. This was power beyond anything he had ever experienced. "Kneel," the emperor commanded. Ryan knelt. The floor was cold against his knees. "You saved my daughter's life," the emperor said. "She tells me you fought 2 interceptors with a cargo ship. She tells me you carried her from the wreckage and treated her wounds with your own hands. Is this true?" "Yes," Ryan said. His voice sounded strange in the vast room. Then you have done something that cannot be repaid with money or titles. The emperor continued. You have given me back my only child, my heir, my blood. Ryan did not know what to say, so he said nothing. Among my people, there is an ancient law, the emperor explained. It is called the Covenant of Blood Debt. When someone saves the life of a member of the royal family, they become bound to that family forever. They become one of us. Tuman. End quote. Ryan felt his stomach drop. He did not like where this was going. You will marry my daughter, the emperor declared. You will unite with House Serenus and become part of the imperial bloodline. Ryan forgot all about protocol. He looked up at the emperor with shock on his face. What? He said. The emperor did not seem offended by his reaction. I understand this is unexpected. But the law is clear. You saved Velthari's life. Now, you must join our family. I can't marry someone I don't know, Ryan protested. I just met her once, and she was unconscious. That does not matter. The covenant cares only about the debt, not about feelings. Ryan stood up without permission. This is crazy. I'm just a cargo pilot. I'm not royalty. I don't belong here. The emperor's expression grew cold. Are you refusing? Ryan hesitated. The word yes was on his lips, but something stopped him. He looked around the throne room at the guards standing along the walls. He thought about what would happen if he insulted the most powerful being in this part of the galaxy. What happens if I say no? He asked carefully. Then you will have rejected a sacred bond, the emperor replied. It would be seen as a grave insult to the Aethori people. Our diplomats would have no choice but to respond. Relations between your species and mine would suffer greatly. Ryan understood the threat. Refusing could start a war, or at least make life very difficult for humans everywhere. He was trapped. A side door opened, and Princess Velthari entered the throne room. She looked much better than when Ryan had last seen her. Her silver skin glowed with health, and her dark eyes were sharp and alert. She wore a simple white dress that somehow made her look more royal than any crown could. She walked to stand beside her father and looked down at Ryan. So you are the human who saved me, she said. Her voice was cool and distant. That's me, Ryan replied. He tried to smile, but it did not quite work. I did not ask to be saved by you, Velthari said. And I certainly did not ask for this marriage. That makes two of us. They stared at each other. There was no warmth between them, no connection. Just two people caught in a situation neither wanted. The ceremony will take place in 1 month, the emperor announced. Until then, you will remain here as my guest. You will learn our customs and prepare for your new life. Ryan wanted to argue more. He wanted to find some way out, but he could see that it was useless. The decision had been made. The law was the law. He looked at Velthari one more time. She looked back at him with cold, unhappy eyes. This was going to be a very long month. The first week was terrible. Ryan was given a beautiful room in the palace with a bed softer than anything he had ever slept on. The food was incredible. The servants treated him with respect, but none of it mattered because he was still a prisoner. He tried to contact Earth's government for help. They sent Commander Lisa Grant, a woman Ryan had served under during his brief time in the military. She was smart and experienced in dealing with alien species. If anyone could find a way out of this mess, it was her. Lisa arrived at the palace 3 days after Ryan's summons. She spent hours talking with Aethori legal experts, searching for some loophole in the ancient law. But she found nothing. I'm sorry, Ryan, she told him one evening. The Covenant of Blood Debt is one of the oldest laws in their civilization. It has never been broken. If you refuse, it will cause serious problems between our species. So I'm just supposed to marry a stranger? Ryan asked. Give up my entire life because of some law written before humans could walk upright? I know it's not fair, Lisa said. But sometimes, diplomacy requires sacrifice. Ryan laughed bitterly. Easy for you to say. You're not the one getting married. Lisa did not argue with him. She knew he was right. The only good thing was that Velthari seemed just as unhappy as Ryan. She avoided him whenever possible. When they were forced to be in the same room, she barely spoke to him. She made it very clear that she considered this marriage a punishment, not a privilege. But the emperor had ordered them to spend time together. It was part of the tradition. The future couple had to learn about each other before the ceremony, so every afternoon, they were brought to a garden where they sat in awkward silence. On the fourth day of these meetings, Ryan decided he had enough. Look, he said, I know you don't want this. Velthari looked at him with surprise. What would you like to talk about? I don't know. Anything. Tell me about yourself. You want to know about me? She sounded almost confused. Why not? If we're going to be married, I should at least know something about my wife. Velthari was quiet for a moment. Then, slowly, she began to speak. She told him about growing up in the palace, surrounded by guards and servants but always alone. She told him about the pressure of being the only heir to an ancient empire. She told him about the endless lessons in history, politics, and diplomacy. She had never had a normal life. She had never had real friends. Everything she did was watched and judged. Ryan listened without interrupting. When she finished, he told her about his own life. He told her about growing up on a colony world where water was scarce and life was hard. He told her about joining the military to escape poverty and then leaving the military because he hated taking orders. He told her about his old cargo ship, which he had bought with every credit he had saved. He told her about flying alone through space, free and happy and answerable to no one. That sounds wonderful, Velthari said quietly. To be free like that. It was, Ryan admitted. Until I answered a certain distress call. No. Velthari looked down at her hands. I never thanked you properly. For saving my life. You don't have to thank me. I just did what anyone would do. No, she said firmly. You did what no one else was willing to do. The Valar Nebula is dangerous. Most pilots would have ignored my signal. But you came. You fought for me. A stranger. Ryan shrugged. I'm not very good at ignoring people who need help. That is a rare quality, Velthari said. Among my people, self-preservation comes first. Maybe that's why humans have survived so long, Ryan joked. We're too stupid to know when to run away. Velthari actually smiled. It was a small smile, but it transformed her face. For a moment, she looked young and almost happy. You are strange, Ryan Cole, she said. But perhaps, strange is not always bad. After that day, things began to change. They still did not love each other. They were not even close to love. But they started to understand each other. They talked more during their garden meetings. Sometimes they even laughed. Ryan learned that Velthari was incredibly smart. She knew more about politics and history than anyone he had ever met. She could speak 12 languages and had read thousands of books, but she had never seen a sunset on a planet with an orange sky. She had never tasted food cooked over an open fire. She had never felt rain on her face. Velthari learned that Ryan was not the simple cargo pilot she had assumed. He had traveled to hundreds of worlds and met thousands of species. He knew how to fix almost any machine with basic tools and creativity. He could navigate through asteroid fields and nebulae that would terrify most pilots. He was rough and uneducated by Aethori standards, but he was clever and brave and honest. My father thinks you are beneath me, Velthari admitted one afternoon. He respects what you did, but he does not see you as an equal. Is he wrong? Ryan asked. Velthari thought about it. I do not know anymore, she said. A month ago, I would have agreed with him. But now I am not so sure. There are different kinds of value, different kinds of strength. Ryan nodded. Your people have ruled an empire for thousands of years. That's impressive. But humans have gone from mud huts to starships in less than a century. That's not nothing. No, Velthari agreed. That is not nothing. Commander Lisa Grant watched these developments with cautious hope. Maybe this arranged marriage would not be a disaster after all. Maybe these two very different people could find a way to make it work. But there were others who were watching too. Others who did not want this union to succeed, and they were already making plans. Lord Maven was one of the most powerful nobles in the Aethori Dominion. His family had served the Empire for generations, and he had always believed he would one day marry Princess Velthari. The marriage would have united two great houses and made him the most influential person in the realm, second only to the Emperor himself. Then a human cargo pilot had ruined everything. Maven watched Ryan from across the banquet hall with hatred burning in his silver eyes. The human was laughing at something Velthari had said. They stood close together, comfortable in a way they had not been weeks ago. It made Maven sick. The idea that this primitive creature would marry the princess was an insult to everything Maven believed in. Humans were young and weak and unimportant. They should be serving the Aethori, not joining the royal family. Maven had tried to stop the marriage through legal means. He had argued that the blood debt was an outdated tradition. He had suggested that a financial reward would be more appropriate. The Emperor had rejected every argument, so Maven had decided to take more direct action. The mercenaries he hired were the same ones who had attacked the princess in the Velar Nebula. They had failed the first time because of the humans' unexpected interference. They would not fail again. Maven had paid them triple their usual fee and promised more if they succeeded. The plan was simple. During the ceremonial banquet, an assassin would kill Ryan. Without the human, the blood debt would be void. The marriage would be cancelled, and Maven would be free to pursue Velthari himself. The banquet was a grand event. Hundreds of nobles filled the great hall, dressed in their finest clothes. Food and wine flowed freely. Music played from hidden speakers. It was a celebration of the upcoming union, though many of the guests privately disapproved. Ryan felt out of place, as usual. He wore formal Aethori clothes that felt strange on his body. He did not know any of the dances or customs, but Velthari stayed by his side and helped him through the difficult moments. "You are doing well," she whispered to him. "Most humans would have embarrassed themselves by now." "The night is young," Ryan replied. "Give me time." She laughed softly. It was a sound Ryan had grown to enjoy. Over the past weeks, something had changed between them. They were not in love. Not yet. But there was something there. Respect. Friendship. Maybe the beginning of something more. Ryan found himself looking forward to their garden meetings. He noticed when she was tired or sad. He remembered the things she told him, and asked about them later. Velthari felt the same changes. Ryan was not what she had expected. He was kind and funny, and surprisingly wise. He treated her like a person, not a title. He argued with her when he disagreed, and apologized when he was wrong. He was honest in a way that Aethori nobles rarely were. Maybe this marriage would not be so bad after all. The assassin struck during the third course. He was disguised as a servant, carrying a tray of drinks. No one noticed him moving through the crowd. No one saw him reach for the plasma pistol, hidden under his jacket. But Ryan saw. It was instinct more than anything. Years of living in dangerous places had taught him to notice things that seemed wrong. The servant was moving too purposefully. His eyes were fixed on a target. His hand was reaching for something. Ryan did not think. He just acted. He threw himself in front of Velthari just as the assassin fired. The plasma bolt hit him in the chest. Pain exploded through his body, worse than anything he had ever felt. He fell to the ground, unable to breathe. The hall erupted in chaos. Guards rushed toward the assassin, who tried to fire again but was quickly overwhelmed. Nobles screamed and ran in all directions. Velthari dropped to her knees beside Ryan, her face white with terror. "Ryan," she cried. "No, no, no." Ryan tried to speak, but only blood came out of his mouth. His vision was fading. The pain was everywhere. Someone help him. Medical staff rushed over and began working on Ryan. They used advanced Aethori technology to stabilize his wound. The plasma bolt had burned through skin and muscle and bone. Any Aethori would have died instantly, but humans were tougher than they looked. Ryan's body was fighting to survive. Hours passed. Velthari refused to leave Ryan's side. Even when her father ordered her to rest, she held Ryan's hand and talked to him, even though he could not hear her. "You stupid human," she whispered. "Why did you do that? Why do you keep saving me?" Not. The investigation into the assassination attempt moved quickly. The captured assassin was interrogated and revealed everything. Lord Maven was arrested in his chambers, still wearing his banquet clothes. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Emperor Kael was furious. He had considered Maven a loyal subject. The betrayal cut deep. He sentenced Maven to exile in the outer darkness, a punishment worse than death for an Aethori noble. But the Emperor's attention was mostly focused on Ryan. The human had taken a plasma bolt that was meant for Velthari. He had saved her life again, this time at the cost of his own health. The doctors said he would recover, but it would take time. The damage was severe. The Emperor visited Ryan in the medical wing. The human was awake but weak. His chest was wrapped in bandages, and machines beeped around him. "You continue to surprise me," the Emperor said softly. "I aim to please," Ryan replied. His voice was rough and tired. "Why did you do it?" the Emperor asked. "You could have let the assassin shoot her. The blood debt would have been void. You would have been free." Ryan was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at the Emperor with clear eyes. "I didn't think about that," he said honestly. "I just saw someone trying to hurt her. And I couldn't let that happen." The Emperor studied him for a long time. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Perhaps I was wrong about you, Ryan Cole," he said. "Perhaps you are more than I thought." He left without another word. But something had changed in his eyes. Something like respect. Velthari came in after her father left. She sat beside Ryan's bed and took his hand. "You saved me again," she said. "How many times are you going to do this?" "As many as it takes," Ryan replied. She smiled through her tears. "You, really, are the strangest human I have ever met." "Is that a compliment?" "I think it might be." They sat together in comfortable silence, hands intertwined. Outside the window, stars filled the dark sky, countless and beautiful. For the first time since this whole mess began, Ryan felt like maybe everything would be okay. 3 weeks after the assassination attempt, Ryan was finally able to walk again. The Aethori doctors had done incredible work. The wound that would have killed most beings had healed into a large scar on his chest. It still hurt when he breathed too deeply, but he was alive. That was what mattered. Velthari had visited him every single day during his recovery. She brought him books and told him stories about Aethori history. She taught him words in her language and laughed at his terrible pronunciation. She sat with him during the long, painful nights when sleep would not come. Somewhere during those weeks, everything changed. Ryan could not say exactly when he realized he had feelings for her. Maybe it was the way she smiled when he made a joke. Maybe it was how her eyes lit up when she talked about the things she loved. Maybe it was simply the fact that she was there, day after day, caring for him when she did not have to. Velthari felt the same way. The man, lying in that hospital bed, was not the rough stranger who had crashed into her life. He was Ryan, the person who made her laugh for the first time in years, the person who listened to her when no one else did, the person who had nearly died to protect her, not once, but twice. She found herself thinking about him constantly. When she was in meetings, she wondered if he was eating properly. When she was sleeping, she dreamed about his smile. When she was with him, she never wanted to leave. It was terrifying and wonderful at the same time. On the day Ryan was released from the medical wing, Emperor Kale summoned them both to a private audience. Not the grand throne room this time, but a small chamber where the emperor met with family. Ryan walked slowly, still recovering. Velthari stayed close, ready to catch him if he stumbled. They entered the chamber together and found the emperor waiting for them. But something was different about him today. The cold, ancient ruler was gone. "Sit," the emperor said gently. "Both of you." They sat on cushions across from him. The room was quiet and warm. "I have been thinking," the emperor began. "For weeks now, I have been thinking about you, Ryan Cole. About what you have done. About what it means." Ryan waited, unsure of what to say. "When you first came here, I saw you as a tool," the emperor admitted. "The blood debt required me to honor your actions. But I did not respect you. You were just a human, a young, primitive creature who happened to be in the right place, at the right time." He paused and looked at Ryan with new eyes. "I was wrong." Ryan blinked in surprise. He had not expected this. "You have saved my daughter twice now," the emperor continued. "The first time could have been luck. But the second time, you chose to put yourself between her and death. You did not hesitate. You did not think about escaping the marriage or gaining your freedom." The emperor leaned forward. "Do you know what that tells me about you?" "No," Ryan said honestly. "It tells me that you are exactly the kind of person I want beside my daughter. Not because of law or tradition, but because you truly care about her." Velthari reached out and took Ryan's hand. Her fingers were warm against his. "But I am not a tyrant," the emperor said. "I will not force two people into a life they do not want." He looked at Ryan directly. "The blood debt has been satisfied. You have saved Velthari's life twice. The covenant asks for balance, and you have given more than any law could demand. You are free to leave. No one will stop you. There will be no consequences for humanity." Ryan felt like the ground had shifted beneath him. He could leave. He could go back to his ship, and his cargo runs, and his simple life. Everything he had wanted since this started. But did he still want it? He looked at Velthari. She was watching him with careful eyes, trying to hide how much this moment meant to her. But Ryan knew her now. He could see the fear behind her calm expression, the hope she was trying not to feel. "If I leave," Ryan said slowly, "what happens to her?" The emperor sighed. "She will marry someone else eventually. A noble. Probably. Someone appropriate for her station. Someone she doesn't love? Love is rarely a factor in royal marriages." Ryan thought about his old life. The freedom of flying alone through space. The peace of having no responsibilities to anyone but himself. It had been good. It had been enough. But it was not everything. "I spent 6 years running from everything," Ryan said. "From commitment, from connection, from anything that might tie me down. I thought that was freedom. But now, I'm not so sure." He turned to face Velthari fully. "I didn't come here looking for you. I didn't want any of this. When I saw that assassin pointing his gun at you, I didn't think about freedom or escape. I just knew I couldn't let anything happen to you. Because somehow, without meaning to, I started to care about you. Really care." Velthari's eyes were shining with tears. "What are you saying?" she whispered. Ryan smiled. It was not his usual sarcastic smile. It was something softer, more real. "I'm saying that I don't want to leave. Not because of any law or any debt, but because I want to be here. With you. If you'll have me." For a moment, Velthari said nothing. Then she laughed. A bright and joyful sound that filled the room. "You foolish human," she said. She pulled him into a hug, careful of his still healing wound. Ryan held her close and felt something he had not felt in a very long time. Peace. Belonging. Home. The emperor watched them with an expression that might have been a smile. "Well," he said, "it seems the wedding will proceed after all. But this time, It will not be because of ancient law. It will be because two people have chosen each other. The wedding took place 1 month later. It was smaller than originally planned, but far more meaningful. Nobles who had once opposed the union now watched with curiosity and grudging respect. Commander Lisa Grant attended as Earth's official representative, smiling the whole time. When Ryan and Velthari spoke their vows, they meant every word. News of the marriage spread across the galaxy. People talked about the human cargo pilot who had won the heart of an Ithori princess. Some said it was luck. Some said it was fate. Some said it was proof that the universe had a sense of humor. But those who knew the real story knew the truth. It was not luck or fate or humor. It was choice. It was a human who had decided to be brave when running was easier. It was a princess who had looked past differences to see the person beneath. It was two people who had started as strangers and become something more. In the end, that was what made humanity special. Not their technology, or their strength, or their numbers, but their ability to choose, to decide, to reach across the vastness of space and say, I want to be here, with you. Ryan Cole had started his journey as a simple cargo pilot. He had ended it as something far greater. A husband. A prince. A symbol of what could happen when two very different worlds decided to come together. And somewhere in the stars, in a palace of light and crystal, a human and an Ithori were beginning their new life. Together, the galaxy would never be quite the same.